This is Ashley Worhol with the band Worhol, and we are talking with Antihero magazine online.
The first thing that I really want to talk about, because I studied art in college, the name Worhol, where you guys got that from.
We are related to Andy Warhol. There's actually a very long story within that, and we are actually kind of blessed to have our name spelt with an O. So like Andy, obviously he spells his name W-A-R-H-O-L, and we spell ours W-O-R-H-O-L. So with my father being in the band, that's one of the reasons why we decided to keep our last name as the band name. But with Andy, the story, he's actually a very far distant cousin of ours. One of my dad's, his father, which is my grandfather, one of their brothers he was the only one who spelt his last name with an O. And when they found his birth certificate, it actually had an A. It was back when they, hand wrote the birth certificates. So all these years he was spelling it with an O, and it was actually supposed to be an A all along. But luckily for us, people recognize the band, but it still kind of keeps us to be ourselves as well.
And that's an awesome story, and the tie-in there. That kind of leads me to my next question about, keeping the art in the family. He was an artist, you guys are musicians, so it's staying with that strong art foundation.
It is. I've always thought of Andy to be a creator of his own style, and that is pretty much what he's known for. So as he created his own style in art, I like to think that we create our own style in music. And Andy did a great job of, putting himself out there and kind of building a brand for himself. So I'm hoping the genes will last and we can follow in the footsteps and create our own path as well.
Let's get to the meat and potatoes of what we're here to talk about, and that's the band and the album that you guys got coming out. The big thing for me is when I listened to the album, because I'm going to be writing a review on it, there was a lot of powerful vocals.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
And it's on the same level of Within Temptation and Evanescence. And what kind of led you guys to create a sound like that when in the U.S. a lot of our symphonic acts really can't stack up to the foreign ones?
I have been a fan of, both of the bands that you just mentioned, but the same as Epica, the Concoil, all of these female-fronted acts that I feel are so unique in their own way. And I was actually trained as an opera singer. And I kind of blend that in with the style of the band, with the music. Obviously, with my father, he grew up in the classic rock era, and he was able to kind of portray his style into our music on top of mine. But I grew up listening to Evanescence, and I absolutely love that style of music. In my eyes, I've always wanted to create kind of beautiful, haunting melodies, and that's kind of the style that we ended up wanting to accomplish. So between my father and I, and still to this day he handwrites all of the orchestration parts, we pretty much just sat down and zoned in on the style that we wanted, and we made it our own.
And what has it been like working with your dad on, creating this unique, powerful music?
It's been amazing. I'm sure he will tell you stories. We are a very sarcastic group, not only just my father and I, but the band in general. And before we started this band, he's a guitarist, but he's also a pianist. And I'm also the keyboardist in the group, so I play piano live on stage on some of the songs. But when we first started, we kind of both did keyboards, and that's how we knew, obviously with a band, you can't have two keyboardists, you need other members. And when we first started composing, because I actually have my degree in music composition, it was kind of funny because he used to always tell me that, my timing, it threw him off constantly. And he was like, no, we got to fix this. So when we first started writing, it was kind of that going back and forth where it's that fatherly, daughterly love. But then again, it's kind of like that business side to where you have to kind of put that mark, and we push each other, and we're both very stubborn at some points and passionate in others, and it's just a great balance, once we actually finally get to that point to where we're like, ooh, that sounds amazing, okay, let's do that, and then we just kind of work off of each other.
With him handwriting the compositions and developing everything himself, how long did it take you guys to get to the point to where the album you guys felt was complete and ready for the public to hear?
It took us a good bit of time to really finally get what we wanted. You know, when we first recorded the tracks, we would always do scratch tracks. And then I would obviously give those to my father, and he would end up listening to them and just going over and over and trying to find the parts that would relay kind of the tones that we were wanting. So, you know, we would have months worth of material that we would just really sit down and figure out what exactly we were wanting. And, you know, my dad and I have this great respect of, he lets me do my thing, I let him do his. So when it comes to all of that music for the orchestration, I let him do him, and he ends up getting amazing, beautiful melodies from it because I'm not pressuring him on what I think should be done. I let him do what he wants, and then it ends up being beautiful.
Yeah, and that it shows through the album. And I kind of got, when I listened to it with the guitars, they're simplistic, but they bring in that old classic rock influence, and even in the soloing parts.
Yeah, he does a great job of bringing his classic rock style into it. I think that kind of makes us slightly different from some of the other symphonic rock groups out there, just because of the era that he grew up in. You know, he's done the band scene all his life, and when I was born, he kind of had to give up his dream and support me and my mom. And now that I'm old enough, and we're just pretty much destined to live this dream together. But he does an amazing job of bringing his own flair to our music.
And how much would it mean to you to be able to accomplish not only your dream, but your dad's dream at the same time?
Words can't really describe, honestly. You know, to have such a family that is so supportive, who has allowed me to do everything that I've wanted with music and has backed me up 100%, to see my dad have to give this up and pretty much wait, you know, these years for me to be of age to really take this on for full force, it's such a feeling of accomplishment. And I'm kind of glad that he did kind of have to wait. That might be a little selfish sounding, but it means so much more because we can share all of this together, and it's going to be a bond that will never be broken.
That's incredible. It's really special that you guys can share not only a bond as father and daughter, but as musicians together as well.
And, you know, there's a lot of shows, and I have to sometimes remember, like, I can't always just call him Dad. So when I'm introducing the band, you know, like, I'll be like, oh, and, like, you know, for those who haven't seen us, to my left is my father. You know, like, everyone cheers. And then, like, I'll introduce our drummer, Marty. I'll introduce our bassist, Craig. And both Marty and Craig are like, he has a name. I'm like, oh, right. And so, his name's Larry. But he's my dad, you know, so. But it's great.
For everybody, this is Dad. You can call him Dad for the rest of the night.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And actually, some of them do. I had to constantly remind myself, okay, Dad has a name. Dad has a name.
Not only are you a vocalist, a classically trained vocalist, but you're working on a hybrid poetry and art book at the same time.
I am. I am very active.
Tell me a little bit about the influence behind that, and you know, where you're at with the process on that.
Sure. So I've always loved creative writing. So I write the lyrics for the band, and when I was younger, I used to love writing stories or poems. So, you know, during the course of getting my degree and obviously doing the band, I've always wanted to accomplish writing a book. So I decided to do like you said, a hybrid pretty much, where it is poetry, and I have incorporated photography, which is really exciting. So I modeled for the photos, and I had a graphic artist, the same one that actually did our album cover. And we decided to kind of incorporate the layout to where the photos blend with the poems. So every photo represents the poem, but in like the graphic artist vision. And so the theme of the book, which is called Perception, is to allow readers to read the poetry, imagine what they see when they read it, and then they also have a visualization next to it to kind of see what we saw. So it's kind of a interactive project. And outside of the poetry book itself, I also filmed 3 videos where I went into the studio and composed music and spoke the poetry on top of the composition, and then we filmed a video. So there's different forms of where you can see the meaning of one poem can actually be viewed in many different ways, hence why the name is Perception. everyone perceives things differently.
Especially in the art world as well. So you have a lot of stuff going on. Is there any plans on touring to, promote the album any?
Of course. So we have a few shows coming up, and we also might be having an opportunity for a tour that we can't exactly announce just yet, but the lineup that we would be touring with is an absolute dream come true. We're being very blessed right now with opportunities that are coming our way, and things are kind of, doors are opening, paths are being paved, and there's a lot of opportunities that are on the horizon for us.
Are you guys going to keep it, in the Texas area, or are you guys going to expand out a little bit?
We'd love to expand. We actually did a UK tour a while back, and we absolutely loved it. And our last show was in Wales, and then we came back. But our music obviously is very well known in Europe, but we absolutely love, obviously, where we're from. So we're wanting to expand both here in America and then overseas again, and a lot of other countries as well. I'm a huge Traveler fan, so anyone who will have us, I'll go.
As you mentioned, you guys are huge in Europe, but when it comes to the U.S., it's, a struggle to get your music to people because a lot of times the Americans don't want to hear symphonic rock or symphonic metal. They're kind of just standoffish. They just want to hear metal and rock. How has that struggle been for you guys to kind of break through?
I think our image has really given us an advantage. We dress up. We are a theatrical performance. We have stage props. I am someone who has always visioned almost like as if you're going to see a Broadway or, an opera. That's kind of what I want ours to be. So it is a show. It's more than just a musical appearance. So when we have done tours or when we've done shows here in the U.S., a lot of times, as soon as they open up those curtains and they see our props, people are already intrigued. It brings in the curiosity of, I wonder what they sound like. And luckily our music, every song sounds different. And since it's also available for all ages, I'm very big on trying to be a role model to the younger generation. It's opened doors to where people accept it more than just music. They understand what we're trying to do. They understand where we're coming from. And I think also just because we're all such personable people, people can relate to us and they feel a connection with us, which I think goes far much longer than just music itself. Because when you have that personal relationship with your fans, anything is possible.
Yeah, that's the truth. And, expanding that fan base is not only important now, but it's also important for the longevity of your careers as well.
Oh, it's so true. And even, for press, just like you guys, we thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen to our music and to interview me. If it wasn't for you guys and for people out there who listen to our music, we wouldn't be able to do what we love to do.
Let's touch on the album a little bit more. It's scheduled to be released July 14th, which is next Friday.
I know, it's coming up.
How excited are you for that release date to hit?
Oh, I'm so excited. If I could physically jump up and down and the interview would show it, I would do it. I am beyond excited. So much hard work and tears and love have been put into this album, and we are just ready for it to be released.
The album's cover art, what kind of inspired that a little bit?
So the idea of the awakening is actually as if you were awakened by something. And the concept that I really had for this was I want our music to awaken the world. Whether someone listens to it and they can relate to it, or if one of our songs gives a healing message, that is what my hopes and dreams are, to bring peace and unity back into this chaotic world that we live in. So when looking at the album cover, you see us kind of standing in this world of chaos and destruction. And in my hands, you can kind of see crumbled up rose petals. And as they are falling from my hand, there's kind of life being brought back into them, and as they land into the section where we're standing, it's bringing life into the world where we are. So there's a very deep message that's behind our music and behind this album, and the artwork that is portraying that is absolutely gorgeous. I can't thank the graphic artist enough because he totally brought my vision to life, but the whole concept is just bringing hope and peace and unity back into this world.
That's awesome. That's incredible right there. I love the story behind that album cover because I'll talk to bands sometimes and they'll be like, we're just standing in the field for no reason. But there's meaning behind it.
Oh yeah, I'm a very deep, like, spiritual person, so all my songs have, like, really, really in-depth meanings, and it's interesting because obviously with Eminence Records, we have to do a kind of like a video message of what the songs represent, and I think some of our fans, they probably sing along to the music, not really knowing sometimes the lyrics that they're singing, and now they're gonna be like, oh, there's like a really big story in this song, so. I think that's like the awesome part about it is kind of playing a character, but we're also playing ourselves and how we view things. So I think it's going to really be great.
For you, what is your favorite song on the entire album?
It would be Voices from Above. And ironically enough, when I wrote that song, I actually had planned on it kind of just being somewhat of an acoustic song, like just piano and vocals. And when I played it for my dad, which I will call him Larry, he listened to it and was kind of like, you're kidding me, what? Like, right? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, that is like a heavy rock song. I already hear a guitar part to it. Bring it over. We're going to work on it. It's like, okay. And luckily I actually listened to him, so it turned out to be what it is, and it's absolutely gorgeous.
The whole album was gorgeous to me. And I feel like it's something that was missing from music, especially in the U.S., because since Evanescence kind of went away, and I mean they're back together for the moment, but who knows how long that's going to last, the music has lost that just like powerful vocal that I feel that Amy Lee brought to the genre, and I kind of feel the same when I listen to you guys, and I might be a little stepping out on a limb here, but I get the feeling that you and Worhol could be the next Evanescence.
I greatly appreciate that. We actually recorded this album with the guitarist of Evanescence, John LeComp, and he is such an amazing individual, so talented. And we get, that comparison to Evanescence all the time, and I take it as a compliment because I absolutely love Evanescence, and I absolutely love Amy Lee. I think she is such a powerhouse. But, whenever we do get that comparison, it's like kind of a reality for me, because I grew up loving their music and wanting my career to kind of take off like hers did. And I honestly feel I'm a very driven person, and I have the mental strength of a bull. So I will always be going. I will always have something up my sleeve. And I really, truly believe, even though it's biased to say because it's our band, I truly believe that we will make it.
I think you will too. I really think so. Because, like I said before, it's the American symphonic gothic genre is dead or non-existent. So you guys bring a fresh face and an amazing talent to a genre that is really non-existent or in the process of phasing out. So there's that. If that means anything.
We appreciate that. It's, honestly, because I know that you have interviewed many talented musicians, and although our name is, starting to get out there worldwide, it's just so comforting to hear, because we obviously think that, our music is powerful, but to hear it from individuals who know the industry and who listen to music daily, it's just a comforting, kind of emotional feeling, because it just means what we're feeling is being kind of sent off to what the listeners are feeling as well.
Yeah, and that's why we listen to music, isn't it? To feel something from it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty sure that's everything that I have. Is there anything that you would like to add that I didn't touch on?
Well, we actually have some exciting news. So this month, the end of July, we're actually filming our music video to Already Forgotten, which is track 4. And we're really excited about that. It was interesting how social media plays out, but I ended up getting a Instagram message out of the blue randomly from an individual in the film industry, which communication led to us going to LA. So we're going to LA. But yeah, we're really excited about it. We're having, the full crew and cast, and I'm really looking forward to shooting that video.
Okay, that's incredible. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely keep us updated whenever that comes out.
of course, for sure.